Look at there. That was awesome. It worked.
It worked.
Hey.
I don't know if audio was going, but it worked.
Yeah, that's right. Welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair. This is RJ Murdock, and this is Streaming Idiots. We're coming to you live, well, at least at this moment it's live, from Fort Walton Beach, Florida, and the set of EmeraldCoastTV.com. Which is RJ's company, and RJ was kind enough to invite me to come over for the day. We had a wonderful field trip this morning. We've got some video about that we'll show you, and we wanted to do a studio tour of RJ's studio and also talk about RJ's work with a local community college live streaming basketball and all the different setup he's going to on that. Let's talk about that for just a second, RJ, and then we'll...
Well, let me set up the pictures for that. I'm going to set the camera on you.
Okay.
And then you can go ahead and... well, that's my camera right here, but talk about that while I set up the PC and show the pictures.
All right. So let me lay out all three of them for you. First of all, this is the third year, I think, third or fourth year you've been doing basketball, RJ?
Fourth year.
Fourth year. For the local community college. Really good team, does well in its league, and each year his production gets better. The value of the production gets better. You may have seen the video that we did, I think 2 years ago, from the college that RJ was showing off his HDMI wireless camera setup. Well, he's upgraded that, and so we wanted to show you the changes he's made to that. He's also integrated into the live scoring system there in the arena, so that as they produce stats, basketball stats, you know, how many three-pointers, how many free throws, how many made, how many missed, that kind of thing, that that all can come into his feed, and he's even got it so that the folks that are doing his announcing can pull up those graphics themselves during the course of the event, so they can actually control the overlays that are going live. I think that's really cool. And he's got a PTZ Optics PTZ camera that he's using there, that he's of course controlling. He's actually on at court side, so he's got the camera set up right there with him at court side, and it allows for all sorts of other shots in the entire venue, because he doesn't have to call up to a cameraman and say, "Hey, get that cute couple there behind the basket." He can just direct the camera that direction, zoom in on them, and really has enhanced the experience for the live viewing audience. But he's also sending a feed from his live feed to the venue, and they're putting some of his video up on the Jumbotron for the Kiss Cam, of course, for instant replay, for foul shots, all that sort of thing. So that's really neat. I mean, we do a whole show on that setup. And have you got some shots you want to...
I do.
Okay.
I just realized I don't have my mouse with me.
Okay. And RJ's got some shots here of that in action. What's the name of the college, RJ?
All right, it's Northwest Florida State College.
Northwest Florida State
College. And in
January
January and February, there's 5 colleges in Northwest Florida that do, I'm sure camera, that compete in they call the Panhandle Conference. So you've got Tallahassee, Chipola, Pensacola, Panama City, and Northwest Florida State College in Niceville, Florida, because it's nice. And the Raiders have been, like, out of the last 5 years, they've been to the national championship 4 times, and they've won 2 times over the last 5 years. And right now, I think tomorrow, they're going to be doing the state regional competition to see whether they're going to go to Hutch, Kansas, for the National Junior College Championship. So what I do is I have some photos that we were talking about earlier from the rig setup, because Tom couldn't make it to one of the actual final games. There was too much going on. Tom's a busy guy. So I went ahead and for the last game I took some still photos, and then you know what? They're not in any order, and I'm just using Windows photo thing because we played too much this morning. We never got a chance to really fully produce a great show. But I'm just going to go ahead and switch to my desktop on my laptop that I have right here. So, well, that truly is my desktop and not my...
Yeah.
Well, let's see if we can figure this out. There's got to be another way to doing that. Let's pull up the photo crap of things. You guys are watching idiots in live. Frame host application. You think that might be it?
Sure.
Give it a try.
Or not.
Or not. So much for. Because I know we had a full desktop before.
Yes, we did. But right now it's.
All right, well, I'm going to go down and dirty.
Did we get that overlay again?
No, we should be doing overlay. We got a regular shot. Grudges.
Best laid plans of mice and men.
Well, tell you what, let's do this. Let Tom talk for a little bit.
Yeah.
Tom's going to go ahead and give us a chat real quick.
Yeah, throw it to Tom. All right, so we spent some time reviewing that. RJ gave me the whole layout. It's really cool, really cool. It's if we don't end up doing all of that today, we'll come back together. And RJ, maybe we can do a remote show, and walk through all that stuff together. And he's moved into a new studio, so you can see behind me we've got 6 TVs that he's got split up running the video that he took from his drone. We've got all sorts of lighting in here, really cool. You probably can't see it. Well, you might be able to see it behind the tree over here, but he's got a drape set up that goes all the way around. All of that is suspended from the suspended ceiling. He's got 3 different cams going. Are these 4K cams or 1080 cams, RJ? The cameras.
The cameras themselves?
Yep.
They are doing 1080, but we're streaming in 720. So, and the reason for that is so that we can do this little push thing. So, if you hadn't seen this before, let me throw it on me. I can set up so I've got this 1080 picture in a 720 frame, but then I could do using a really slow merge, do this really interesting camera move here, and then pull it back out. And that's just using the merge function with like time at 5555 or something.
I love
like that.
merge.
So that way, and I use it quite often when I'm doing a show. I'll crop it in, and then I'll go ahead and I'll bring in, hi, I'm RJ Murdock with Emerald Coast TV. Thank you for watching. Pull that out, and then we just go back to the live shot. Same thing with Tom, pull him in. Oh, I got these a little backwards here. Oops, that's the wrong one. That was from before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I haven't got all my buttons reprogrammed for this particular show, but
Well, that's okay.
your title's there.
Because we spent some time on this boat.
Yeah. You know what? Let's pull that. Let's see if we can pull up that picture.
Let's see if
that
we can
was,
pull up the drone footage.
that was kind of cool.
You can see how beautiful it is behind me. So it's an absolutely gorgeous day here in the Fort Walton Beach, Destin, Florida area. And we went up to a little community called Shalimar, where there is a former Gulf of Mexico workboat that's been retrofit with a 20 by 30 foot LED wall. Actually 2 of them, one facing port, one facing starboard. The company is called Splashboards, and so you can look them up online. They're on Facebook, and I think it's probably splashboards.com. And they wanted to talk about trying to use vMix to power the board. And so I'm thinking, okay, you know, it's just a little video wall, no problem. So we drive up, and you could tell the boat. I mean, you could tell the boat from miles away, literally miles away. And we pull up and we start walking up, and the closer we get, the bigger these boards get, to the point where, you know, I'm looking up like this, and that board, you know, it says it's 20 feet up, but at 20 feet is a long way. Holy cow, and 30 feet wide. So we're chatting with the folks there, and whip out my laptop, and we plug in HDMI to their HDMI, and suddenly we had video. I mean, vMix video was just there on that board like immediately. It was really, really awesome. And so RJ, being a drone aficionado, whipped out not 1 but 2 different drones and got all sorts of drone footage from these. So if we can if all goes well, we'll have that drone footage available for us today.
That's really, really interesting.
Yeah, you may have to go behind the desk and,
Yeah.
and run that. The best laid plans.
Best laid plans.
Mice and men.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yep,
All right.
yep,
Because what's happening is that I've got it set up for desktop capture,
yep.
but then whatever was active on the desktop is the only thing that shows. Anything that's overlaying, I'm seeing it on my vMix NDI,
Right.
but it's not coming over there because it's only capturing that one layer
That's right.
of graphics in Windows. So,
Yep, I get it.
and it's not allowing me to see the photo viewer, so that was kind of strange. So I'm going to reconfigure vMix for my output,
Okay,
and that should help.
Okay.
And then we'll just bring it in as a list.
okay.
So
That's fine.
that's what we were doing. So in the meantime, so
So it was a situation of best laid plans, but only plans, no practice, no actual preparation. It was all theoretical. And this is a great example of what happens when you're just all theoretical. Excuse me just a second. It's very dry here in North Florida.
I'm going to put the camera on you.
Okay. I like a good camera on me. So we had the basketball thing going, we had the studio thing going, we've got the boat with the splash, what they call splash boards. So it's a giant communication screen, a 20 by 30 screen, and we're hanging out doing all of that today, trying to get all of that in, and as it looks like we're probably going to do not a good job of any of it. All right, so RJ, you're going to whip up.
No, I'm going to control everything from vMix from over there. So we're going to we're going to change up this NDI feed so that, and we're pushing the limits of this computer.
Okay. So,
All
be
right,
patient.
you're live on that screen. Check this out, guys. How cool is that?
There it is.
Talk about
wow. There are people going to the hospital right now after seeing that. That was just too much.
That's Tom bigger than life on this. What do they call that? It's called splashboards,
Splashboards.
but it's a huge outdoor LED digital signage that they use for doing things like the bachelor show parties at people's backyards.
Yep. Yep. And that's a former Gulf of Mexico workboat that they've outfitted with that giant board. It's not tremendously high resolution. I think they said it doesn't even come to 720p when you do it at pixels per whatever. The dimensions of the board are 20 high and 30 wide. Looks like it's getting a little fuzzy at that point. And we played with a few things. The idea was that they could, they can take this boat around just anywhere. And Rich, I was thinking about you because they can take this boat to Pensacola or Panama City for your jet skis, your jet ski racing. They have.
I wanted to get a shot from the other
around.
side, and they were just doing the one side.
Oh yeah, that's
because that would have been such a good shot from there. But
we were just plugged into the starboard side.
yep,
Yep, but it's a good shot of the boat, and you can see us just hanging around on the deck.
and I'm trying to avoid all of these masses on these sailboats.
And RJ is a registered drone pilot, so all of this was done legally. In this area, we have, let's see, is it Hurlburt Field, and then Pensacola
Eglin
Naval
Air Force
Station is
Base.
another, 40 miles, 50 miles to the west.
Lots of military presence. in
Lots
here.
of military presence around here, so we were thankful we didn't get shot down. But you can see the mast there to the right and to the left that he was trying to slip between. But the concept that I was so excited about with is that basically vMix can go anywhere and do anything.
How long did it take you to get that set up once you got the things powered up? He was up and running. He was just
5
amazed.
minutes. 5 minutes. We were hooked in. And so they're going to take this boat around, and they're going to do, you know, certainly they'll do billboard ads. That was the concept that they started with. But they can stream live video. They can do DVDs. They can bring in direct TV content. It can be, the screen can be subdivided into as many different sections as they want, as they feel like they have the resolution for.
You think we've seen enough?
I think we've seen enough.
All right, we'll go live here.
Enough of that. Is that what everybody sees? That picture-in-picture? Or is that?
No, that's just for us.
That's just for, so your head is not really
the
being
preview
covered
is, you're seeing the preview in the picture window.
Gotcha.
And our time.
All right.
All right.
So
We're
that
good to
was
go
cool.
now. So we've got vMix on the laptop, saying an NDI of its output to there, and I've got all the photos.
Okay.
Much easier to work with.
Let's do the basketball thing then.
Okay, so Northwest Florida State College, the Panhandle Conference, the Northwest Florida State College Raiders, both women's game and men's game. So let's go ahead and we'll bring up a picture of the setup we have for that. All right, so working with a dual laptop system. The laptop on the right, of course, is the gaming one. It's hooked up to an AJA 4K I/O. So I have 4 camera inputs, and right now I have 3 cameras going into it. One camera is above, give me an overview. It's my game cam. It's following the action from half court to half court. I have a wireless roaming cam going around, and then I have recently, within the last half of this season, or in February, I picked up a PTC optics camera. So I'm just going to like scroll through these pictures in no particular order. Just so that you can kind of just see the different layouts. This is before the game got started and before my commentators got there. The laptop on the left is, I ended up kind of incorporating it because I was pushing the processing speed on the right with too much stuff. So I NDI into that to go ahead and provide an output to the Jumbotron, as well as an output to Facebook Live, and recording it. So I'm recording my game on that one so that I don't have to record it on the main one, because I record everything for backup purposes as well, because sometimes YouTube can fail, but I can always repost the game later. Let's see what else we got here. Something new, a PTC optics camera. It was kind of a got it that afternoon, let's see what we could do that night type of deal. So the first time I had it set up, I actually had a piece of paper on the front, since it's facing away from me, and used the remote to point the camera and control it so I can bounce the IR off the paper into the IR sensor in the front, because of that. It was facing the wrong way. But that was the down and dirty, but the SDI coming out of there, 1080 coming into the system, it gave me the ability to give me a third camera to give me some cutaway shots to work with. And then I was mentioning before that second camera, or that second laptop, is setting a feed of the output to the Jumbotron, and we'll talk about that later on, but they were doing fan cams and kiss cams. So between my roaming cam and that camera, we're able to pre-set up and be able to switch back and forth and give the fans a new experience here. This is my my setup for my commentators. I like to use that little sports remote mix because they have control over the audio. They can hear themselves as well. But I'm taking the output feed from there from an XLR to a USB cable. It's an adapter. It's all built in, and that's going into my USB port. So that's providing my audio in for vMix. It's a great little setup. My previous commentators had their own. I've been looking for one of these on eBay. I have it set up to automatically search for it. Normally they're even used. They're still going for about $350 as an average, maybe $300, maybe with a $400. And I just had my search pop up one day and said, hey, one of these is on there for $189 plus 2 headsets. And I said, sold. It was perfect. It was perfect timing because I just lost my commentators from the last 3 seasons, because they kind of retired from it and then brought in a whole new set of commentators who were great this year. Add some new, young blood to it. Kind of using a combination of both. I started doing all the controlling through Behringer MIDI controllers. I have the shuttle one, which I use for instant replay, and I've got a design. I got some of the knobs on top set up so that I can zoom in and then move to the right or move to the left. So I was using that when I was doing the Emerald Coast Classic, which is a Division I basketball tournament that takes place in Thanksgiving weekend. And that's how I got started with Northwest Florida State College doing that. So I'm using this for my instant replay, 10 seconds in, you know. But on the right was the first time I've got a chance to incorporate the Stream Deck, and so I was able to eliminate my other Behringer controller, the one that had it's all buttons for the most part, and it would light up with different colors. But you know, it got to a point where it was a little crazy. But the Stream Deck, and I think I've got more pictures for the Stream Deck how it was being used. I've got a couple of different profiles set up here, but the upper left corner is Northwest Florida State College. I've got it set up so that I can move this thing away from me and put it in front of my commentators. And this is the reason for that was because I was able to go ahead and patch into the college's real-time stats. So once they got the Jumbotron, and I'm going to switch cameras so I can talk about this. So once they got the Jumbotron into the studio, into the arena, they wanted to start providing more information to the fans. So they figured out a way to go ahead and patch into the stats computer that the college was using it, but because the Jumbotron was on a separate network, but it was still accessible through Wi-Fi as well, they were able to set up a Dropbox as a file on the stat computer, so a Dropbox folder that had the file names for the stats for that particular game, so the Jumbotron laptop could touch into it. Well, now it's on the net, so I was able to create a Dropbox drive on my laptop to be able to access those XML files and then be able to provide some real-time stats. So I was able to go ahead and create by the numbers between the two teams as it was ongoing, how many free two-pointers, how many three-pointers, how many free shots, how many rebounds, how many steals, all that in 2 columns, which I probably can go ahead and we'll probably run the game after I walk through this as we talk through it. But to let my commentators know that, hey, we've got stats for the players, stuff like that, I didn't want to have to like nudge them all the time or, hey, you get this. So I gave them the Stream Deck, and what you're seeing over here is that they had the ladies' games that they can go ahead and set up. If they popped in there, then they had a choice. They could put up the big score, or they can bring up their commentator lower thirds for the regular score button. Sometimes the score bug with the timing and it wouldn't update very much. We had to refresh it so they were able to pull it out because they're watching the monitor. I'm too busy calling the game. And we did set up the lower button to do play instant replay again. I was going to give them control of that. We never got around to that. But right above it, you got their stats, and they can bring up the either the player info if they wanted to, or they can go ahead and bring up the stats for the team members. Did I skip one over? Well, I guess I got you got the gist of it. So now, when the player is going up on the foul line, they're able to hit number 11 and bring up the stats on the overlay automatically. So they were in control of the overlay for the graphics. And that way, I didn't have to try to communicate with them. It was all preset, and because it was live, real time, it made things much easier. Tom, you know me and my pegboards, don't you?
You're a pegboard fanatic.
I am a fanatic about trying to minimize the amount of teardown time. So a lot of things that usually go together, you're pulling power supplies off, or this and this system are always used together. So what I always end up doing is coming up with a pegboard system and zip tie to the pegboard the power supply and any other cables. In other words, there's 4 SDI cables coming off of this, and they're pegged by there as well, so they can just connect in the other camera cables directly to it, and it's all set to go. Yeah, we don't have the live chat going on to see what's going. If anybody's got any questions, and then I've been using the Sports Bot from Sportscast for many years. But when they got the Jumbotron, they got this thing that you're seeing on the picture here. It's called a Scoreboard interfaced, a virtual scoreboard interface, and specifically for the Nevco system. which has a serial port to USB adapter connection, so you can bring it into your computer and get an XML file that's being updated constantly on your computer at a specific location and file name. So with that being the case, I was able to go ahead and create my overlay graphics without having to do a camera on the scoreboard like some of us have to do. And then, of course, I'm taking the HDMI out of my laptop and going to the Jumbotron. We got 200 feet of cable running around from one side of the court to the other, and that would go to the other side to another splitter repeater that would split it and then give a little monitor, which we'll see in a little bit, as well as a shot to the Jumbotron. Again, this is in no particular order. I use walkie-talkies to communicate with my things. I don't worry about trying to do wired, but it's not. I don't direct. I give directions, and then after a while, if you're working with the same folks all the time, and it's really nice when you can get the same crew each time. And I had 2 guys with me who did an excellent job. They knew what I was looking for. If they didn't, I kind of would tell them. But it gets pretty loud in a basketball arena, especially when you have the Niceville High School Eagle band playing right behind you. It's crazy because it's super loud. So I was able to pick up some 23 dB ear isolation earmuffs headsets, and then I adapted kind of like the ear adapter for walkie-talkies, so that they would then have a regular phone jack, 3.5 millimeter jack into these headsets, and that way they're able to kind of chat with me this way, but they can hear me without all that noise going on. Questions?
Not yet.
All right, back to the picture.
Although Jan is saying in chat that he has shamelessly copied you with his with your pegboard concept.
All right.
Used it for his camera kits for the roller derby that he live streams.
My best investment this year so far.
Other than having me come visit him.
Investment is equipment. Yeah, you're my highlight of my 2019
highlight
so
of
far.
this year.
So far.
He has really low standards.
Was the investment of, at the time, for $1,700, I've got this ICANN wireless transmitter that I started using back in the fall, which supposedly has a 400-foot distance, line of sight, iffy, but I was able to get around the entire court without a single dropout. And I have my camera guy has this camera on a monopod, and he's hanging out courtside, center courtside for the most part, and then whenever there's a foul shot, he would go to the other side and give me a close-up of this person shooting the fouls. So I had a wireless system I had set up before, but it was kind of a rigged up system, and it was kind of iffy, and it would go in and out. This thing is rock solid. ICANN is one version of it. SynGear is another one. Hollywood Video, I think, is another one. I think they've got their 400 now. They dropped the price. I think it's $9.99 right now if you pick it up on one of the eBay or one of the other places. And I'm taking my cameras are SDI out, so it's much easier to deal with and much more stable than the HDMI connection. So that also made a decision worthwhile. Best investment so far I've made, next to having more cameras. I've maxed out the capabilities of this laptop. Next year I'm going to have to, if I can afford the new Asus GZ700 mothership with an i9 processor and a graphics card with 32 or 64 gigs. It's just crazy back. And it's like a Surface Pro on steroids, but for gaming. That's probably what's going to be using for this year. But I don't even have enough tabs anymore for all the different elements I need to get into. There was one shot, and I'm not sure how much you can read. Well, I guess I'm showing. I had all the info, like the Lady Raiders info player stuff. I was able to pull up, and then my commentators can control that through their Stream Deck version. And you can have multiple Stream Decks on one PC and recognize them individually. So I could have my own copy, and I could have a copy of exactly what they have, and I could just give them overlays that they can bring up all the time. So I'm really starting to kind of like the use of that, and the fact that I don't have to write numbers on it or change to key is just being able to drop an image or write text onto the keypad is tremendous to me. But somewhere in here, all right, there's my multiple shots. So you got your PTZ cam, different camera angles. All right, data sources. Guys, I really wish I had my desktop working so that I could kind of show you how interesting it was to integrate the data sources from that XML file from the stat computer that's being on that Dropbox file. That was kind of a crazy aspect of it. This is the easy one. This is just the one coming from the virtual Scoreboard for the real-time overlays of the scores, the time, the shot clock, stuff like that. This one, and I don't know, I guess I could try to zoom in. I'm going to try to zoom in virtually here. Give me a second. I'm going to pull up the vMix position here. If you bring up a data file with, what's the best way to say it? Because the way they had it set up, and I wish I had the file here to show, you've got FGM3.1. So that is field goals made, three-pointer field goals made, player 1. So when you bring up your data source and you have, it's a multi-matrix and all that, I had to use convert rows to columns. And this is what it did, because otherwise I couldn't read all of them without creating a data source for every individual player. This allowed me, even though it's kind of funky, there's a 0.1, and there's you go to 2, 3.4.5. The players were always in the same position, so it made it easy for me to be able to incorporate that particular field for that particular player's stats overlay. Reset that. We can get into, that's a whole nother topic, because there was one gentleman on your Streaming Idiots or Webcasters Facebook page that showed me, he created a video on how he sort of did it, and it gave me the clue on how to put it together. We need to do something on that one sometime. All right, SDI cable. Man, I ran 200 feet of cable all the way around, two of them, from where we were on one side of the court to where the score table, the Jumbotron, was on the other side of the court. Also, there are cables running from where we were on the other side of the court to under the basket, because I had under the basket cameras. But when I started pushing as much as I was on that laptop, I decided to kill the under the basket GoPros that I had underneath there, because it was just too much stuff. Yeah. So gaff tape is your friend, not duct tape. Gaff tape. They'll like you for that as well. And get the colors of what they use. So you see gray here and black and white. White is on the best. So I got 3 colors of gaff tape, and I use those. The gray works great with silver, so I was able to run the cables along the runners, and then black on the wall runners there. This is what I was showing you at the scoreboard table, where the Jumbotron, the laptop on your left, actually controls the Jumbotron, and so every time, but the Jumbotron feed came all the way that 200 feet over to the other side of the scoreboard table where this was at, and I went to a repeater splitter so I could split one to give a little confidence monitor to the person in control of the Jumbotron. The other one actually went directly to the Jumbotron. So when there was an instant replay, she could see it and she would flip it up to the Jumbotron right away and put it up there. Or whenever there was a foul shot, she was giving all the fans a front seat view of looking directly at the foul shooter up close and personal. So it really added higher the bar for, or the standards for these games and what people enjoy. Again, pegboards. This is the repeater plus an SDI to HDMI converter with power supply, blah, blah, blah. Makes it easier for me to be able to just tell my crew at the end, okay, just unplug the 2 SDI cables and the power and just shove it in a bag. Easy peasy. That's kind of more of a close-up. This one was kind of a cluster because it was too much stuff on one small pegboard, but it did the job. All right, now this is the other input from the other output from that repeater is going into that jack for the Jumbotron, so that we have direct access to the Jumbotron from right behind the scoreboard table. And there's the second 200 foot of SDI cable that's running from the scoreboard controller over to that virtual scoreboard interface, so that we can go ahead and get the same information that's going up on the scoreboard. It's interesting though, from the sportscaster or Scoreboard, and this, there was always like a half a second delay, but that was going over the internet and coming back, and it was always like that little less than half a second delay on the time. So, but even direct connect from there with the USB, it was still always a half a second delay. So it was interesting. I wondered though whether it was, and I would look up at the scoreboard, and you could see the timing was just off just a little bit.
Huh.
Go figure. All right. Sound system. I've done so many other things with them so far that they just allow me to connect. I have a dedicated cable coming out the back because it's very hard to get to this thing, where I'm taking the feed off of the FX1 alternate send, so that way I can control that. I can only hear the announcer but not the music they're playing, because who needs music when you're doing YouTube video, because all you need to do is get it blocked, and that's no good. So I have this dedicated cable sticking out the back, and I allow anybody else to use it, but that's giving me an audio feed if I wanted to use it, and that's what I used during the Emerald Coast Classic, because I didn't have commentators that time, but I will this time, because we really bumped up the game. Let's see, more cable runs. Everything is always taped down, and this stays down for the full 2 months. I don't have to pull up cable each game, because that's what I'm hired to do, and they allow me to keep that cable taped down for the entire 2 months of the tournament, and there's like six home games. And my internet connection, they have one that's only about 8 feet away from where we're at, internet and power. And all right, so because I'm using 2 laptops and the internet, I've got the internet going into a router, and that router is then also feeding 3 things: the switching laptop, the streaming laptop, and the PTC optics camera. So they're all on the same IP address, so it makes it easier for me to be able to use the PTC. This is something new for me. I'm usually just using it with one laptop in the past, but now that I've kind of like split the tasks up a little bit, that helps. And then adding the PTZ means I need to have control over that IP address so I can assign it. And then that's actually a wireless router. So I had mentioned to Tom that what I have finally been able to do with the PTZ cameras, because I have that wireless transmitter that I use on my roaming cam, and then I have a client bridge access point. So an access point will allow you to take a wired internet connection and make a wireless connection that people can connect to. A client bridge is just the opposite. It can sense a pre-programmed wireless connection and give you a wired connection. So I use that wired connection into the PTZ, and now I have, through vMix, a PTC controller and everything is completely wireless. So I could just go ahead and put that PTC camera on a stand and take it anywhere, as long as I've got power to that client bridge and to the camera itself. So placement could be pretty much wireless within the range of both the Wi-Fi as well as that 400-foot transmitter. So what else we got next? Oh, more pegboards. That's just right below my feet. Just more close-ups of the craziness. So that's where I'm sitting at. And I've mentioned before about my my courtside camera guy. I put him on a monopod. Forget the shoulder cam. It's just it gets too much to do. So he's working with that transmitter. And that monopod is a squeeze grip, pistol grip adjustable. So you just squeeze the grip and you can adjust the level. It's quick and simple. Squeeze it, pull it back up, and then you lock it down. So you'll drop it, and then it'll walk with the camera, and then it'll readjust, and then just let it sit. And all you have to do is kind of just make sure it's sitting there. But at least it's not doing this. It may sway a little bit, or up and down, but it's not shaky cam and all that. And it seems it's very easy to be able to run around a court. So again, he gets almost as much as much exercise as the players. All right, and there's my my commentator crew and myself are sort of giving the thumbs up. So it looks like Rob's pinky is trying to poke out Jeff's eye there, or pick his nose. One of the two shots there from that. So I think we pretty much have gone through. Again, by the way, that roaming camera guy, that's my son this year. Yeah, since he's not working, he's making money working for Dad. All right.
And there's Dad.
Yeah. Happy self. So I can bring up the chat board. I'm not sure if anybody has any questions, but I think, did we go through everything that we need to on this one? Oh yeah, and my other camera guy is up on top, and he's got himself a regular monitor to work with as well. And these cameras are Sony's PXW-X70s. So I call them X70s. They've got an HDMI or an SDI, and they're 4K capable. But I'm running everything at 720 because I'm pushing the limits on my laptop there. Brandon. All right. I think we've got more than enough. Oh, last thing. This is like the second time I tried using vMix 22 in preview beta, which you should never do for a production thing before it becomes production. But I felt confident enough. And it's the first time it gave me what my GPU memory status was like, and look at that. So I think it's a 2 gig card. I think it's a 1050 on here with only 2 gig of memory in this laptop, and it is maxed out. And most of the time the vMix and the CPU and the total are up in the 70s to 90s all the time, especially when there's motion going on. So it's pretty crazy.
At 60 frames a second. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, and then finally, for the last couple of games beforehand, I was finally able to get a working Xbox controller, and then I started using that to tweak. I was able to finally get rid of the infrared remote and tweak where I'm shooting at. So that was actually interesting. I was actually using it for switching as well. I got to the point where, all right, now we're getting to loop and all that. So, my gosh, I've been talking. Tom, let you chat for a little bit. Whew.
Well, RJ, thank you for sharing all that. That's fascinating, and it'll be interesting to go back and kind of take a look at the show from 2 years ago and compare where you were then to where you are now. You've made some pretty dramatic improvements, I think, especially with the wireless cam and the addition of the PTZ optics cam. There's always been kind of an interesting debate about whether a PTZ cam has any place in sports. And I think you've kind of hit it that it does when you're going for those preset shots.
I wouldn't use it for following the action,
right?
But for cutaways, it's perfect for that.
Right. So if you're taking a look at a coach, you're looking at the scorer's table, you're looking at a kiss cam, you're doing a static shot that you can move to a wide shot when the static shot gets to be too moved. Yeah. Here's some.
So just go ahead and show you
That's
some
your
live
PTZ
footage.
optics camera right there, isn't it?
No, actually, it was a single shot, so I don't let him go all the way over if he doesn't have to. So we're getting real-time graphics going on. You see that little pause?
Yeah.
That's because I'm pushing the limits of that laptop.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of action going on. That was a PTZ cam for a quick shot there, and we're switching all back and forth, trying to get the player or the viewers to feel like they're in the players. All right, so apparently another foul. My guy is running over to the other side right now.
This is the PTZ cam right here.
Right here, this is the PTZ, because you see it's kind of got
how
the
steady it is.
Motion and that feel. And then I've got the reverse cam. So this shot right here is then being put up on the Jumbotron. So everybody in the arena is watching this at the same exact time. So being where I was, the PTC cam also gave me a second go-to shot for the wider angle for the foul shot, so we could see where the ball was. So always had the upper cam, but sometimes that other shot looks good, especially when there's action on the rebound if they don't make the shot on that second one. So we were pushing 720 to YouTube. put 3 cameras there. Like I said, the under the basket cameras, it was just too much, and it's still, with everything else going on, and also trying to interpret data from the scoreboard and bring everything else in, it just pushed the limits of this computer. I think I've maxed it out. I've got to either go desktop here soon or get that mothership from Asus. And I'm hoping to have that by next fall. If I can invest, I think it's gonna be like $3,500 for that one. It's a number, but
Wow.
that probably could last me for the next couple of years. All right, so I'm gonna bring it back. That was fun. Then, well, it's been almost a half hour. So we did a half-hour show because we started at like a little after.
We did.
2:25. Sorry, guys, you out there who stay up in 4 a.m. in the morning to watch Tom's show.
Nobody is up at 4 a.m. to watch this show, except Prashana, who's in Nepal, where it's probably 3:30 in the morning right now.
All right, I'm going to pull up the chat window back up again since we haven't been paying attention to it because we've been.
Yeah, I've been looking at them.
Okay.
They're behaving.
Ah.
They're behaving.
All right. Well, and there's not too many more comments since the shameless plug or ceiling pegboard concept. Training day demo for for show one day. Yeah. There was a lot of demos for this one that we could go into.
Sure.
Because you had just the interface for the stats was a huge learning curve for me, but the college was willing to work with me. The person who does the Jumbotron, I would get in there early. It used to be I would come in maybe 2 hours before the game, set up, have my commentators and everybody come about a half hour beforehand. I get there now at noon because it's kind of like, you know what, it's a full day anyway. I'm just sitting around. I'd rather just make sure everything is working correctly. They're paying me for the day, even though they're only paying me for the 2 games. I'd rather make sure I get more flawless. So, and I'll just tweak. So this year I got a lot of chance to tweak. And in fact, I was able to get there early. I could test out the PTC cam. I could test out, can we get the stats working today? Oh, we're not quite there, but we're one step closer. We can work on this for the next game. So it was always a evolving process, getting to that point. But the best thing, I submitted my last invoice at the end of the game. And then a couple of days later, I just got a quick text message because I knew he was looking at it and getting ready to submit it for payment. And he goes, "By the way, RJ, I never got a chance to tell you. Excellent job this year. You and your crew have really done a good job." So they like it. And as I was telling Tom, I started doing all the streaming stuff for free, and then I would or be kind of affordable, and these. I'm not like charging huge corporate prices. I'm charging, one-man band type of prices for the most part. But because if you do a good job the first time, they'll keep bringing you on board. And when you do a job, you're always making mistakes. And you're like, wait a minute, well, that could be better if we could find a better way to smooth this out or smooth that out. And then you go on eBay, order something from China. You don't care if it's 3 weeks later. You're just going to have it for the next time you need a data adapter, and that's what's happened. It's just a progress. It's just an evolution. But they appreciate it as well because they keep bringing you back. So it used to be I used to have slow times. I never have a slow time anymore. But there's always something going on, and we could talk about this some other time. And you and I talked a little bit about it. But from a business perspective.
Well, we can talk about your engagement with the community through the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, that's huge, and I think that's the foundation.
Back when I first built my first touchscreen PC, Vid Blaster, switcher, and all that,
Yep.
I volunteered my time with the local Chamber of Commerce because they were having these First Friday coffees. And you see this all the time. People will have one laptop and one projector, and then they're trying to switch between PowerPoint to bring up a Windows Media Player, and then they're playing it, but they keep the mouse on there, so you see the whole. I'm like, oh my gosh! I said, hey, I'm working on this. Would you mind if I kind of help out with your AV? And I started doing that, and they really appreciate the fact that it upped the game. Now we're at the point where we're doing these First Friday coffees. I've got an extra cell phone I place near the podium, so when they have new members, there's a little business card holder there. I've got an IP camera connected to vMix. and we put their business card up on the screen so that everybody there doesn't have to worry about trying to write it down, or can you repeat that again? They're seeing the name, they're seeing the number, and they also know, because I'm recording it at the same time, they can always go to emeraldcoasttv.com later and go back to that new member and says, oh, that's that information I need. Just the value of that, they're like, we're going to give you a free membership, and then referrals just went from there as well. So it's not really free because I am working every first Friday of the month. So
Sure.
it's compensation through in trade or bartering for the most part, or whatever you want to call it.
But that speaks to the fact that they believe that you add value to what they're doing, and so they're willing to trade back with you for that value. I think that's great. I think that's great.
All right, I got a question here. Can you talk about how you more tease your sports in studio? I'm not sure I understand the word more tease.
I don't either. Frank, restate your question.
Yeah.
Restate your question.
Maybe this autocorrect didn't come out correctly.
But see, I think we could do a whole show on how you've developed your business.
Right.
I mean, if you're willing to give away some of the secret sauce, that's the that's the thing,
Back in 1993,
1993,
when I was working on my master's in instructional technology, and there was in Denver, Colorado, and there was a place called Media Lab between Denver and Boulder, Colorado, and they would have these little monthly workshops where they were kind of introducing new products. Like, oh my gosh, the world's first commercial or publicly available CD burner is available, and you can burn your own audio CDs for $3,000, only $3,000. That was huge things. But they would invite all these people that were they were also in some ways competition. And their theory was, it's like, yes, you are competition, but we learn more as a community by sharing, and there's enough business out there. Fast forward to now, it's kind of the same thing. The technology is making so many more people available. I see media people popping up all over trying to help other small businesses with social media. Are they encroaching upon stuff that I can do? Yes. Are they keeping me not busy? No, I'm still busy. There's enough work out there, and everybody needs help, and they need an expert. All right, so question, what is RJ using to split the video into 6 screens in the studio? This is a good question. So think of...
It's a secret sauce.
The top row
question, Kenny,
is one monitor. The bottom row is another monitor. So I've got 2 outputs coming from the graphics card. That is an NVIDIA graphics card with Eyefinity. And Eyefinity gives you the ability to take multiple monitors and group them as if they're and act as one. So one output is then going to a Matrox triple head. So it's taking this one image and then spreading it over 3. And I've got 2 Matrix triple heads. So I've got this one image over 3, other image over 3. And then using Eyefinity, the utility for the NVIDIA, create those are 2 separate monitors. So like when the first time I did it and I was doing vMix, I would have to create a dual output and put one half of the picture up here and the other half here. Now I don't have to do that anymore because it's acting all as one monitor. So, and we've switched it before. Right now we're not behind the scenes, so we can't do the, I could show you all the different backdrops we got going on over here. But that computer is over there. All we got is the Stream Deck to control it for right now because we got the setup over here. So hosting a show can always be kind of a challenge. You're limited to your options of what you have available at your fingertips. And you're hoping that your audio is preset and not changing. And audio is another tricky thing. Let me also tell you about this monitor, since the question was asked. When I first did these, and I think, Tom, you were the first show I did where I actually had the 6 monitors, but I used to have 4 monitors sideways. And when I had them sideways, I had no problems with frame rate. As soon as I moved them back to landscape, horizontal, I was getting the rolling 60 cycle thing. So all my cameras are set at multiples of 50. The main cam you're looking at over here has the ability to do 50 frames per second. My two side cams, this one and that one over there, don't have 50 frame rates per second. They have 100, so I have to go to 100. So this is why these cameras seem like they may be a little sportsy looking, because they're working at a faster shutter speed, and I have to bump up the gain a little bit. So not as crisp a quality as this picture over here is.
The tricks to make things look normal.
Right. All right. I'll drop a few. Let's see. I spent an evening prepping for a corporate event. They have a really nice control room. Maybe slowly moving the vMix. Okay.
Can't beat that.
And he'll drop a few pictures on Facebook. All right. So should we just go into the after show?
I think we should go to the post show.
Okay. So whatever. Do you want a single camera on you, and you can just say.
Sure. Put a single camera on me.
Yeah, you want to.
What a show, huh? Lots of meat here, some gristle, obviously, and some things that we could have done better. But thank you for taking time out. We appreciate the time that you've spent with us today. Hang around for the post show. Don't forget, April 9th is the Streaming Idiots meetup at NAB. That's Tuesday night, on the floor of Central Hall. And you can get some tickets. Go back and watch last week's video. We've got all sorts of places where you can get free tickets, or at least discounted tickets. And then March 30th, if you're in Atlanta that Saturday night, come join me at 8 o'clock at the Atlanta Hilton Airport in the lounge. I'll be hanging out there. I'll be up helping Gerald on a gig that week for VoiceOver Atlanta. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So on behalf of RJ Murdock and Emerald Coast TV Studios, I'm Tom Sinclair. This has been Streaming Idiots. And we will be with you in the post show momentarily. That's your cue to, yeah. We're not supposed to talk at this point.